I am so sorry. We started this program and I was muted, and so you only had a chance to. If you read lips, I hope I spoke clearly enough. But again, I'm Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer, and this is another edition of WIN TV. We're so happy to have you with us today. Again, WIN Washington Informer News is our weekly broadcast that we do here on Facebook Live. From from noon to 1 every Friday. So if you're just turning in for the first time, thank you for joining us. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell everybody to check us out. We try to bring to you a very informative program, and we are looking forward to doing the same again this week. And if you notice, I still have the large photograph of my dad in the background, sort of peeking behind me. And I just thought I would mention, not only did we just celebrate our 56th anniversary last Friday, we had a lot of fun. And I want to thank everybody for joining us and thank the members of the Washington Informer staff. They gave those great remarks, and some were hilarious. I really enjoyed hearing them. But also, I just wanted to mention that today, October the 23rd, was the day that Dr. Rollard passed in 1994. It's hard to believe that it's been 26 years. So I just hope that you all will join me in remembering this great man who did so much for this community and left a living legacy in the Washington Informer. So we do our job not only to keep you informed, but to keep him proud and to continue to do what he set out for us to do when he started the Informer in 1964, is to keep Washington residents, people in the DMV and across the world, informed about the news that impacts them, the news they can use, and the news that makes a difference in their lives. So, having said that, I want to say, of course, speaking of news, the big news this week, of course, is the November 3rd general election. And we're looking at the polls, we're watching organizations that have launched voter initiatives all across the DMV. We've watched two debates, and I guess you saw it last night. And I want you all to remember to tune in with us on the night of November 3rd. We're going to do a live broadcast with all of our reporters and get some local commentators and try to really assess not only the turnout of the election in DC, but also, as I said, Maryland and Virginia and the national elections as well. We watched two debates, and we just want to say, if you're still undecided, check out the stories in this week's issue of the Washington Informer. And I hope you've picked up a copy, and if you haven't, realize that they are available on newsstands across the city and in Maryland, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and Northern Virginia. And or if not, please pick up. You can read the Washington Informer online at www.washingtoninformer.com. Again, that's washingtoninformer.com. So let's talk about today. I hope you all have been enjoying this fantastic weather. I don't know if we want to call it an Indian summer. I was just going to call it the extension of summer. But it's been beautiful weather. And but that's another story, because we're trying to figure out what's going to be happening with the weather as we move forward. But today we'll be talking to a representative from the DC Board of Elections who will tell us what we can look forward, not to weather-wise, but as far as voting is concerned, what's been happening in the district, and what we can look forward to on November 3rd. And know that you can begin to do your early voting, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And we have information on our social media platforms for voting in Maryland and Virginia. So, in addition to the district, so go to our Instagram and Facebook pages, and if you're confused about dates or where to go or who to contact, we have information there for you. Driving in any quadrant of the city, one thing that sticks out is the construction. It's all over. And for residents in the district in the southeast and southwest quadrants, we're kind of maneuvering around or through a great deal of construction projects along Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, South Capitol Street, Interstate 295, and soon to be the new South Capitol Street Bridge, or better known as the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge. So joining us today to talk about projects is the director of the DC Department of Transportation, Jeff Marudian, And so we really want to know what's happening there. It's been confusing, but it looks like they're close to getting done. And last, don't forget to tune in to the end of our program when we transition over to Bridge TV with host Marcus K. Dowling, who will also bring you sounds of the DMV performed at the local HR Records on Kennedy Street in Northwest. So when we end at 12:45, don't go away, because WI Bridge TV will be coming up next, and I understand they have a great guest in store. So let's now jump into our hot topics. A court ruled against President Donald Trump's order to strip food stamps. Trump wanted to eliminate food stamps from nearly 700,000 Americans. And the courts have ruled that he cannot do that. And so they threw a lot of folks a lifeline. And so let's hope that and see where that goes from here. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan yesterday announced $250 million in economic relief funding for coronavirus affected businesses. And I don't know who not only in the nation's capital or Maryland or Virginia or any place in the world, in the nation, that has not, if you're a business, particularly a small business, you have been affected by the coronavirus. And so Governor Hogan has announced an economic relief program, and you can come to the Washington Informer to find out more about that and how you can access some of these dollars. The D.C. Council voted on Tuesday to extend unemployment benefits to some district workers. That's good news as well. But in the District of Columbia, thanks to word we had from Councilmember Alyssa Silverman, who has been pushing this legislation, that you have to, when your unemployment benefits run out, you have to refile. In some places, it's automatic. In the District of Columbia, you have to take that extra step. So make sure you contact the Department of Employment Services if you're having some issues with your unemployment compensation. And if you are having issues, we'd like to hear from you as well. So you can reach out to us at WIN-TV at WashingtonInformer.com. That's WIN-TV at WashingtonInformer.com, and let us hear about what you're doing or how you're managing during this pandemic. The DC Public Schools plan to allow some elementary school students to attend in-person class beginning next month amid the coronavirus pandemic, and will prioritize those who are experiencing homelessness, those that have special needs, those who are at risk or learning English as a second language. There's a lot of issues about this reopening, though, and I know that the State Board of Education and others are having community meetings. They're not necessarily pleased that parents and teachers were not allowed to give as much impact or input on this move. And so we need to watch this very carefully, because, by Monday or midweek next week, there may be a change of heart on how this happens. So we need to keep our eyes and ears open, and we will continue to do that on your behalf. And lastly, we're still being impacted by this coronavirus. So I just want to say to you all, please remember to keep your face mask on when you're in public. Keep your hand sanitizer handy, and maintain social distancing. As others have said, the best way to fight this virus is to follow this advice, this simple advice, just wearing a mask. Some people have a hard time telling folks to do that. Well, we don't have a hard time telling you to do it. So wear your mask, make sure you carry your hand sanitizer, and try as hard as possible to maintain your social distancing. And that way, if you exercise caution at all times, we can fight this pandemic. So moving forward, yes, October is Domestic Violence Month. And this month has been set aside to acknowledge domestic violence survivors and to be a voice for its victims. We know that domestic violence is present in every community. It has no age limit, no socioeconomic status, no sexual orientation, gender, race, religion, or nationality differences. Domestic violence is not always physical, but it can result in physical injury, psychological trauma, and even death. The devastating consequences of domestic violence can runs across generations and can last a lifetime. We're happy to have Washington Informer staff reporter William Ford, who covers Prince George's County, joining us for a conversation about domestic violence with Melissa Hopmeyer, Chief Special Victims and Family Violence Unit in Prince George's County. Thank you so much, Ms. Hopmeyer, and we're glad that you could jump in really quickly. Our special thoughts go out to Ms. Braveboy. And so we wanna just say to you, first of all, tell us, give us a sense, and William, you can jump in at any time, but give us a sense of what is happening with families with as it relates to domestic violence in Prince George's County.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, especially last minute. And I know the state's attorney, I hope she feels better soon as well. So, what we say is domestic violence really is the pandemic happening inside of the pandemic. Because, while we are supposed to and we should, stay at home, for victims of domestic violence, home is not a safe place. And what we have seen over the last few months of the pandemic is an increase, about a 10% increase in domestic violence cases in our office. Not only that, but we've seen a 10% increase in domestic violence homicides. And so what we know is that, victims of domestic violence are not safe at home. And we are urging them, and, we've partnered with our community partners, including the Family Justice Center, to just advocate that they know that although, things are not normal, we are still here. Our doors are still open. We are still able to help because sometimes, like I said, it's just not a safe place for people to be at home. And we want them to know that there are resources out there in the community and that we're here to help.
What is it? I mean, in the wintertime, people are in, right? There are times when, what is it that triggers domestic violence during these times? We talk about the virus, but what is the link? Help us to understand.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things. It's, close quarters all of the time. It's the economic stresses that people are seeing from losing their jobs. It's health stresses if somebody comes down with COVID or has symptoms of COVID. It's that, children are at home and there's no place for them to go. And so I think all of those things are just kind of a counterpeg waiting to happen when you're already in a relationship that is abusive. And so if, we know the statistics show that people who lose their job or don't have a place, don't have, home stability, those are all triggers for domestic violence. It triggers us out of the honeymoon phase into the abusive phase. And so we're kind of, the coronavirus is a perfect kind of storm for that because people are losing their jobs, people are losing their health care. There is not access to as many resources as there normally is because of the shutdown, because of the quarantine. And so it's really just kind of a perfect storm for victims who are in the cycle of violence.
Will, you covered a press conference recently about a new piece of legislation in Prince George's County that impacts, I guess, the way certain things are characterized, certain acts. I think it's a strangulation bill. You want to talk about that and then talk about how it relates to domestic violence?
Well, it's what happened is the state legislature, now classifies strangulation as a felony. And I'll pass it on to Melissa Hopmeyer. If she explained it during the press conference last week. If you could let our listeners and viewers know how that worked, because you're better equipped to explain it better now. Could you explain it for us on how?
Sure. The strangulation protocol or the bill? Strangulation
protocol, yes.
Yeah. So we're really excited to roll that out, especially during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So the state's attorney, has been working on it with myself and some other community partners for about 2 years. And so what happens is Prince George's County now has a coordinated response when a victim calls and reports an allegation of strangulation. And so what will happen is if a person calls 911, 911 will ask them whether or not they were choked or strangled. If they respond yes, EMS and police personnel will be notified. And then when they get there, they will offer obviously medical services if they need them, and they will document the strangulation in the fashion that we have laid out through the protocol. And it's coordinated, it's consistent, and really what it's meant to do is if the victim wants to, we can't force victims, but we do encourage victims to seek medical assistance because strangulation is so lethal. They'll be transported to Prince George's Hospital, where our domestic violence and sexual assault center, which is fantastic, has a forensic machine that can conduct a forensic strangulation examination that we can use both to ensure that the victim gets whatever medical assistance they need, but we can also use in prosecutions. So it's just a really important piece in domestic violence prosecution and in the elimination of domestic violence to have this protocol.
It's October, as we said in the beginning, which is Domestic Violence Month. Is there something that happens differently during this month that doesn't happen throughout the year? Or how are you using this time, besides joining us here at WIN TV, to really get the message out to people that of the help and resources that are available to them?
Domestic violence doesn't just happen in October. We want to highlight it, and so we spend a lot of time in October. People are focused their attention on it. And so we spend that time to try to engage the public, engage the community, give them the tools that they need so that throughout the year they can know the risks, they can know the signs, they know what resources there are in the county to help anybody if they're suffering from domestic violence, if they have a friend. And so, the state's attorney really focuses on it 12 months of the year, but she wants, at least in October, she knows people are listening even more. So I know we are having a Not One event next Wednesday at the Cottage City municipality. That's going to highlight, our work as well as the work of our community partners, because really, something that the state's attorney is really adamant about is that this is not just a prosecutorial problem, it's a community problem. And we're not going to solve domestic violence alone as the state's attorney's office. And so it's just so imperative that we work with our partners to let victims know that there are resources in the community available for them, to let offenders know we're going to hold them accountable, but also we're going to provide them with the help they may need so that they can, so that they don't reoffend. Because really, this is not about it's about making sure that we end domestic violence and that abusers know that their behavior is unacceptable and that there is a way to comport.
Wonderful. We're kind of running out of time, and I want to thank both of you all for being with us. But Melissa, it's Friday. The weekend is coming, and there's somebody who may be watching who's worried because it's Friday and it's the weekend, and not knowing who to reach out to. Is there anything you can share with us right now? Any place you can share right now, a number or something, in case someone says it's Friday, I need a safe place to be?
So, I would 100% reach out to the Family Justice Center. They work 9 to 5, but they have 24-hour resources as well. And I always say to victims, if you are in a dangerous situation, 911 has to be the first place you call, because, the community providers are excellent and they're good at triaging, but they are not the police. They cannot help in an emergency if someone has a weapon. But I would really encourage your listeners and viewers to reach out to the Family Justice Center. They have some excellent resources there, and some of them are 24 hours a day. And the phone number, let me get that for you, because I usually have it off the top of my head, but I'm a little bit nervous being on live TV.
No, it's great. It's fantastic. And the most important thing is most people won't see this live. So,
Yeah. So the number there is 301-780-8008. And that's, and then there also is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That is a really great resource as well. And that number is 1-800-799-7233.
wonderful. Okay, we posted both of those numbers on the screen. And we want to thank both of you for joining us. Will, keep doing what you do out there in the county. You all can read Will Ford in the Washington Informer every week, and you can read him online as well. Melissa Hotmeyer, thank you so very much for joining us, and know that you always have a place to come to help to keep our residents protected from domestic violence.
Thank you so much for having me, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you. You too. So, as I said earlier, the election is just, 11 days away. We've been talking about this day for the last 2 years, actually, probably the last 4 years, to be quite honest. But anyway, the last 2 years. So, joining us now is Terry Stroud, Policy Advisor at the DC Board of Elections. Thank you so much for General Counsel at the, I had the wrong title, General Counsel at the DC Board of Elections. I want to thank you so very much for joining us because it's been like, the long road to the end, and we hope the end is on November 3rd, but there's a big chance that it won't be, I guess. I don't know.
Well, in DC, it won't be actually, because ballots will still be coming in. Ballots that are coming in by mail may be postmarked by November 3rd, but they can be received at the board up until the 10th day after the election. And so whereas individuals talk about, okay, election results are out on election night, election results are not official until certified by the board, and that won't take place until much later on, and certainly not before the 13th of November. So I just want to alert listeners to that, listeners and viewers.
Fantastic. There have been some issues raised about what happened in the primary election back in June. We did have long lines there, and some issues that folks have raised. But how prepared are you all for November 3rd?
I think we're very prepared. I think, there were long lines in the primary. We did have some issues with our technology, but I always think that while we would not have the lines be as long as they were in the primary, but I think that when it's a good sign that people are voting. And so, we've trained poll workers. We've trained over 3,400 poll workers to serve the 32 early voting centers and the 95 election day voting centers. We have staff, and we're overstaffing election day vote centers, as well as some of the early vote centers that we think will see a high volume of voters. We have a reserve corps of election workers that will step in case of absenteeism or other situations where assigned poll workers can't be in their places. So we have backup poll workers. We have a very solid core in terms of number and quality of poll workers that will be serving the voters beginning next Tuesday, October 27th, through Election Day, November 3rd. As I said, we'll have 32 early vote centers. We'll have 6 super vote centers. In Ward 2, we'll have voting at the Capital One Arena. In Ward 3, we'll have the UDC Gymnasium, the Omni Shoreham Hotel. In Ward 7, we'll have Dock 5 at Union Market. And in Ward 6, we're going to have Nats Park, Nats Stadium. And in Ward 8, we're going to have the Entertainment and Sports Arena. So and voters can go anywhere in the city to vote. They don't have to vote at their assigned precincts, which may or may not be open depending on where their voters usually vote. But you can go to any vote center throughout the city and you will be able to be serviced there.
I'm not sure if you can answer this, but I know that there was an appeal earlier to try to get younger folks, because poll workers tend to be older, our seniors. And because of the virus, I know there was a call to recruit younger voters. And we caught wind the other day that there's a whole crew of them from Howard University that have signed up to participate. How did that turn out? Did you get, it sounds like you got more.
We have a great many, probably more younger poll workers, I'd say under the age of 34 than we have ever had. I think it's safe to say. I've been seeing them come in and out. We finished poll worker training yesterday, and there are a great many younger people than the average age of poll workers that we've had. But we really appreciate our veterans. We have, veteran poll workers here too. We don't want, they tend to be extremely reliable and very comfortable with technology. But we do want them to be home safe. We would rather have younger folks who are not affiliated with the at-risk categories come out and serve the voters of the district. I will also say that we've gotten a lot of ballots back already at this point. I think that as of yesterday in the drop boxes, we've gotten over 80,000 ballots returned already to this point, and we have gotten about over 3,400 mail-in ballots at least.
And how does that
So a lot of
compare?
voting has taken place.
How does that compare to 2016? Do you know?
Oh, far and above beyond what we've seen.
Okay. And the last question, because I mean, we just don't have enough time to talk about all
Yes.
the things we
Mhm.
want to talk about. But I did find a link. I voted early by
Okay.
mail for the first time in my life, and I was very uncomfortable doing it. But I did it,
Mhm.
not by mail, but we put it in a drop box. There was a
Yes.
site I could go to find that my ballot had been received, which made me a lot more comfortable. Can you share that with us where this location is if people have voted? Uh,
I can send it to you. I think it's a ballot tracks. Let me, I'd have to go to our website. I don't have it handy, but I
okay, all
can
right,
certainly
okay,
like provide it for you later to share with your viewers, and maybe in a
right,
later screening, you can put it up on the screen. But
okay,
it's ballot tracks,
wonderful,
BALLOTTRAX.
wonderful. It just makes
Mhm.
you feel so much more secure knowing that you're. Well, I want to thank you for being with us.
Thank
So
you for
right
having
now,
me.
any advice? Last thing, any advice that you can give voters who have not voted yet? Either they're going to uh, utilize the resources, or they're going to come on election day. Any advice you want to give them right now?
Well, I think that what I would say is that if you're going to come in person, if you would like to come in person and you don't want to vote the ballot that you received in the mail, check our website, because we will have something called a queue that will allow you to see how long the wait times are at the early voting centers that you want to vote at. So that's in place for early voting. And I would say bring your patience. If you're going to come and vote in person, you have to, if you're going to come and vote and wait in line, if you're going to wait to vote in person, you're going to wait in line to vote. That's probably the best advice that I can give. So be prepared to be patient, and we will try our best to serve you as efficiently as we can.
Since coronavirus, we've been using a lot of using that letter P. So we've come up with
Hmm.
a new one: prepare to be patient. I like
Yes.
that. That's the double
Yes.
P's. All
Mhm.
right. Thank you so much, Attorney Stroud, for being with us and for
Thank you
sharing
for
this
having me.
information. And we're looking forward to a successful election on November 3rd.
Thank you.
All righty. So if you haven't voted, please vote. As you can tell, I mean, she gave us some numbers. The turnout has been fantastic. We want to make sure that those numbers stay high, but we want to make sure that your voice is counted. So please, 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 you can start now and go on and vote. And speaking of voting, that was one of the primary issues at the recent March on Washington in August. And we have a guest, Kyra Stephenson-Valley. You may have heard her speak there at the March on Washington. Kyra is the policy advisor at the National Action Network, and she uses her platform to mobilize the vote and educate voters. And I'm saying Kyra, but is it Kyra or Kyra?
It's Kyra.
Kyra. Okay, I just want to make sure I said it correctly. Welcome to Win TV.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. So let's talk about the work that you're doing in organizing voter participation. What are some of the things that you've been involved with besides nationally speaking and national platforms?
So, of course, we had our March on Washington through National Action Network under the leadership of Reverend Al Sharpton and Martin Luther King III. And the big pushes there were, of course, to get out the vote. All of the tickets that everybody received to enter the march had a QR code that would allow attendees to check their voter registration status. And the policies we were pushing for, one of them was the John Lewis Voter Rights Advancement Act. So we're big on voting. We're really big on getting out the vote. We've recently launched NAN's Voter Brigade, which people can join by going to National Action Network's website, which is www.nationalactionnetwork.net, which not only empowers people to vote for themselves, but empowers them to be good shepherds in their community and help people get to the polls.
And so, what is your message to to the American voters, or to Americans? Why is it important for you that they vote?
I think this summer we've definitely seen a lot of people take to the streets, fighting to be heard by a democracy that was never really intended to hear them. And it was interesting because I've been protesting every day since the George Floyd protest started, and a lot of the people who were in the streets with me were saying, "I'm really energized to be out here in March, but I don't feel energized by the election." And so my message to people like that would be that voting is actually a huge part in getting what we need. We need to go from demonstration to legislation so we can have public policies nationally that we can rely on that will protect our interests. Right now in this election, we have justice on the ballot. We have our civil rights protections on the ballot. Our right to vote is on the ballot. Our health care is on the ballot. Our schools are on the ballot. If you're a young person like me and you're really interested in your student loans, that is also on the ballot. So I would just definitely encourage everyone to vote. We're at a crossroads, and this election is very important for all of us and for the generations that have not even been born yet. So vote, join the 65 million people who've already voted. We see this as October as voting month and November 3rd as the end of voting, not election day, but the end of elections. And then being prepared, as Attorney Stroud just said, that the election will not be decided on November 3rd necessarily. We probably won't see results until much later, but just making sure that we're getting out to vote.
I just want to ask too, because I mean, you've kind of walked the path, or you've given us a path from demonstrations to the ballot box, and I'm sure you all are thinking now, as far as strategies concerned, what comes after. Because I always say voting is the beginning of the process. Then there's more. So what are you telling people? Not only is it important to vote, because they can't just put a ballot in a box and then think they're done, or maybe they do. But what are you saying?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the vote is step one. And step two is making sure that you are staying engaged with your elected officials. A lot of the people who are running for office are running to represent you. And what we say all the time in my role as a policy advisor at National Action Network is you can't legislate on behalf of people that you don't speak to. So it's very important that you stay engaged with your members. You join maybe a political organization that aligns with your interests so you can make your voice heard and you have more people who are supporting you when advocating for issues. If there's anything when you're researching candidates that you don't feel completely clear on, feel free to take to social media and just message your representative, whoever's running and wants your vote to represent you, whether it's in Congress, whether it's the presidency, or even like a school board seat, a council member seat. Feel free to reach out to them and create a dialogue so you're clear on what their positions are and you know that they actually intend to represent you as best possible. And even if the candidate who eventually gets elected isn't the one that you wanted, they still represent you. So continue to keep that dialogue up and make sure that they know what you want to see by calling their office, emailing their office, showing up at their town halls, and just making sure that your voice is heard throughout the entire process.
Kyra, I want to thank you so much. I mean, such not only wise words, but great instructions to our viewers. And like I said, you told it like it is at the March on Washington, and you continue to do so. I really am grateful that you had some time to spend with us today and to communicate that message. Again, as I tell all of our guests, feel free, you have a home here at the Informer. And so not only the social media platform, but reach out to us, as we continue to walk down this path of social justice, particularly for communities of color. So thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And if anyone has any questions, I hope they feel free to message me on Instagram. I always respond at Kyra Valley.
Wonderful. All right. Thanks. Fantastic. We're moving right along because, we have to make room for WI Bridge TV that comes next. But as I said earlier, I mean, almost you've probably seen construction all over the District of Columbia. I remember our former mayor used to talk about the number of whatever those tall things are, those construction things, ladders all over the city. And we're still having them, but a lot of this construction is on our roads and our highways and byways. And even in front of the Washington Informer office, they've reconstituted the streets in front of us. And so we're really happy to have with us Martin, yes, Mr. Jeff Marushian. I was going to call you Martin. Jeff Marushian with the DC Department of Transportation, who's here to really walk us through some of this fantastic work that's being done, but to help to explain what we're seeing. So how are you today, Jeff?
Doing great, Denise. Thanks so much. Great to be with you on the program today.
Likewise. So because we don't have a lot of time, I really wanted to focus in, first of all, on those beautiful arches that everyone has had a chance to see on the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge or South Capitol Street Bridge, and how far, and maybe you can tell us how far along that project is.
Sure, thanks. Well, it's certainly a priority for us, as you mentioned, under the leadership of our mayor, Muriel Bowser, to fix the quality of our infrastructure across all 8 wards of the district, and to ensure that that residents have safe roadways and bridges. And the Frederick Douglass Bridge project is something that's particularly special. We reached a milestone this summer with the construction of the 3rd and final arch on the iconic new design. There's still about a year left of construction on the overall project, and it's moving along quite nicely.
Wonderful. And so for those who, we have viewers in Prince George's County, of course. And so if they're coming up 295 from southern Prince George's County, there was a lot of construction there and road work going one way or the other. It looks like you put up a new road. Explain it, because I don't understand it. I mean, I'm beginning to see it now, but tell us what you've been doing over there.
Sure. We have a major construction project along about 3.5 miles of I-295. And this is a project that has a number of benefits for the local community. The intention of the entire project is to create a new access road for the St. Elizabeth's West campus, the new Department of Homeland Security facility. But it also creates new access for southbound 295 at Malcolm X Avenue. And also creates a much safer intersection of the 295 and Malcolm X interchange. And there are a number of other great things that are happening along with this project. As I said, it's about 3.5 miles. So this is about 4 years worth of construction. We're about 2 years into it. But this includes construction of 7 bridges, for example, a new shared youth pathway along Shepherd Parkway, which will also have some pull-off areas that will be well landscaped and designed, a number of other benefits that the community can appreciate. But most importantly, what it does is creates more safety and more access for residents in the area along the entire corridor there.
I'm wondering, and this is an aside, this is a side question, because I am a resident of Ward 8. And one of the things our neighbors have observed is that we have more deer, more possum, more a lot of animals now that have been displaced because of a lot of this construction. Do you all take that into consideration when you start, I won't say destroying, but
Sure. That's a great question. And first, let me say we fully appreciate the disruption that a major construction project causes, and that's why we pay very close attention to the details, how we phase and sequence the construction, and to ensure that we're minimizing that disruption. We know that the end product will be something that everybody can enjoy, but certainly 4 years of construction is a lot to deal with. We take into account everything from the environmental factors to the safety of the residents who live along the corridor as the construction is going on. One of the benefits of this project is that we are replacing much of that green space. We're creating landscaped areas along the Shepherd Parkway in particular to help offset some of that which was taken as a result of the construction. So it's certainly something that we take very seriously as we do things that do not like plant trees. We're responsible for urban forestry across the district. So it's something that we take very seriously.
So you said the bridge is almost, you're about 2 years. You got about another 2 years to finish the bridge. Is that the case?
For the entire the I-295 project, that's correct. The Frederick Douglass Bridge is about a year away from total completion, which includes not only the bridge itself but also the landscaping on both ends of it.
It's going to be beautiful from the video. I'm sorry we don't have it to share with our viewers, but
We're really excited about it.
And then lastly, because with the virus, a lot of us aren't moving around the city like we have before March. So there are things I may be talking to people about a project that folks in Northwest or far Northeast know nothing about. There may be projects over there that those of us don't know nothing about. So you want to just sort of let us know what other key project you're working on?
Sure. Well, it's a priority for the Bowser administration, as I mentioned earlier, to fix our roadways, to bring all of our infrastructure, our alleys, our sidewalks into a state of good repair. So we've got more construction than ever before that's happening right now in all 8 wards of the city. And folks can visit our website, ddot.dc.gov, to see a complete list of those, but could also look on our website to find out when their road is going to be paved or when their alley might be fixed as a part of our Alley Palooza program. But also, we've got a number of other safety and mobility projects happening. Last year, we brought circulator service to Ward 8 for the first time. We're in the process now of expanding that service to Ward 7. And we've got a number of other projects that folks can find out about by visiting ddot.dc.gov.
Is that also a place where people can come who might be looking for employment opportunities?
Absolutely. We are hiring. We are always hiring for a number of different roles, and not just at DDOT, but also on all of our construction projects as well.
All right. We're going to follow up with you on that because we do want to know how that's making a difference. We're getting ready to talk to another guest about homelessness in DC. So this is one way of addressing that when folks have a place to work, income to make, and nothing better than doing it and helping to make DC a better place to live. So Jeff, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Denise. So great to be with you.
All righty. Yeah, speaking of, we're trying to make room for Win TV, but we're going to bring now Dr. Joseph Bridge TV to, thank you, Chevry. Chevry, our producer here, always tries to keep me in check. Dr. Joseph Asamoah, who is a real estate investor and who also teaches others how to invest. And he has over 30 years experience in the real estate business and teaches people how to manage cash flow and gain assets. But his approach and what we're going to talk about today is a little different than most, I would say, investors, because he provides opportunities for families who can't afford housing or a decent place to live for as long as they may need it. And Dr. Asamoah has a lot of advice on not only how we can become investors, but how we can help to address this issue of homelessness in not only in our nation's capital, but in other parts of the DMV. So with that, Dr. Asamoah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Denise. It's a pleasure and honor to be here.
Yeah, I want to, first of all, I know you have purchased over 30 houses in the DC and Maryland area. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, I own over that much. Yes.
Okay, and but it's not just owning these houses; it's who you're making the homes available to. So, talk to us about why you decided to turn your properties over to primarily low-income families.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I own quite a number of properties in the area, and one thing I realized is that being a long time resident in the area, I noticed that the last few years been a lot of displacement, due to gentrification. A lot of families, unfortunately, have been pushed out, and so the idea is, what can I do to mitigate some of these effects of gentrification? So typically, what I do, I buy a house, I fix it up, and I rent them primarily to low-income families. And the idea is that there's a lot of families here, good families, who are just looking for a chance, looking for the opportunity to live in a nice house in a nice area, and hopefully rent from a good landlord. And so that's what I do. I buy a house, transfer them over or transform them to beautiful homes, and then rent them to the families who hopefully will see this as an opportunity to live in a nice house. Their children will be given the opportunity to have access to amenities which they maybe otherwise will not have. and becomes really a win-win for everybody. The family wins, the community wins, the city wins, and obviously as an investor, I also win as well. So it's purely a win-win kind of scenario.
We did a story not too long ago about one young lady that you were able to bring on as a tenant, because one of the things that you talk about, there are a lot of good families in the DC area, and a lot of times when we think about low-income families or families that might be receiving local subsidies, I know the mayor's had a hard time because we have that NIMBY attitude about certain people. Not in my backyard. And we think that, and I hate to say it, but that's what folks think, there goes the neighborhood. But you've been able to address that. And tell us about this one young person that you rented to.
Yeah, so we fixed up a house up in the Old City, that's in Northeast DC, for example. And this family, she is living in Congress Heights. And essentially, the concern that she was homeless at one time. She took the family over from the abusive relationship to DC General, and then she moved back to a different apartment in Congress Heights. But the worry that the mother had, she had 5 children, was that every day that will the kids come home alive? She was scared that when they're coming home from school, they may get killed, shot. It was just a rough neighborhood. And when I went to visit her house, because as part of the screening process, I go to the family's homes to see how they keep the home. Her home was beautiful, immaculate, and she just kept telling me, "Don't judge me by what's outside. Judge me by what's inside." And that's really the point is that there's a lot of good families who are looking for an opportunity like her. And ever since she's been there, she loves it. The children are a part of the community. They've accepted her. And the kids are doing very, very well. And it's just really, again, it's really transforming lives and giving people an opportunity which they may otherwise not have had.
It's interesting because I said to you before we went on the show that, sometimes you have landlords who will rent properties and basically turn their backs, not only on the tenants, but turn their backs on the property. They're making money from the district or from the government, but they're not helping to invest in the property or to assist in any way to make sure that the tenants are safe. And we see a lot of that all over the city.
Yeah.
How do you prevent that? And we don't have a lot of time, but I just want to know, how do you prevent that?
No, I found that in this business, at least for one thing, a realization is that, if you take a nice house, and you do what the landlord's responsible for, which is if something goes wrong, you fix it, and you take those health and safety issues seriously, then you can attract a type of family who will also reciprocate and do what they're supposed to do, which is to obviously take care of the home, pay the rent, be good citizens of the community, and hopefully stay a long time. So you can meet that happy medium where it's a win-win for all parties. So yes, from the landlord's perspective, it's important that you screen well, you screen right. And also, I think from the tenant's perspective, they're also looking for a quality landlord as well. So when you get that happy medium, a happy marriage, it works. It really works. There's a lot of good families there who are just yearning for this chance to live in a nice house, nice area. There's nothing complicated about it.
I guess it's just pleasant to have this conversation, to know that there are people who are finding a unique way to deal with the issue of gentrification and to keep families in the District of Columbia, regardless of income. And I know that you provide sort of some guidance for those others who may be looking at investing in real estate and also trying to maybe follow in your footsteps. Is there a way folks can reach out to you? I don't want to send a bunch of folks to you that might be looking for a place to live. I don't know how many houses you have left, but we do have your website here, so that's important. But what opportunities do you offer for people who are really looking to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, my whole thing is that the pie is big enough for everybody. It's not like if I teach Denise how to do what I do, she's going to buy the whole of DC up. It's not going to happen. Denise can't meet the needs. So my thing is to hopefully educate people on how to do it, how I do it, be a mentor, be a coach, be a sort of inspiration, such that hopefully walk them through the process, because there is a process to do this. And it's not easy, but it's doable. and it's a way whereby you can leave a legacy for your family, for your community, but also you can provide opportunities for other people as well. So you can go to my website, as you said here. I do have a Wealth Wednesdays, where every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Is on Instagram and Facebook at Dr. Joe, that's Dr. Joe Asamoah, on Instagram and Facebook, 7 p.m. We usually have it like an hour, where I call it Wealth Wednesdays, where I just talk about different subjects and hopefully to provide quality education, quality information, and so hopefully inspire other people to replicate what I'm doing.
All right. We appreciate your time and your information and your heart. So keep up the great work, and we hope folks will join you on Wealth Wednesdays. We appreciate everything, Dr. Asamoah. And he didn't get a chance to say goodbye because Chevy's like, we got to get this show on the road. So we are going to, as I said, if you're still here, don't go away, because we're getting ready to transfer over to, segue over to WI Bridge TV. This is the end of this segment, and hopefully we will see you real soon. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe and continue to wear your mask. This is Denise Rollard Barnes saying so long.
Hi, this is Marcus K. Dowling. I'm a journalist and I'm a contributor with the Washington Informer Bridge. And it's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be here today for our State of the Black Millennial 2020 conversation that we're having all October with Bridge TV. And today I'll be speaking to two people I've known for, probably a decade. Kevin Hallams and Ian Callender are two vaunted veterans of nightlife, entertainment, and social justice issues in the DC metropolitan area. And they are working with the Sandlot Project currently in Southeast and Northwest Washington, DC very soon. I'm glad to have them on today. Lafayette, if you could pull them in, I wanted to have a conversation with them in regards to, the present and the future of Washington, DC. How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. I can't complain. Just I'm living and breathing. So those are the goals right now, right?
Nice. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're talking about the Sandlot first. I want to get you guys your thoughts about reopening this project and expanding it in 2020 and 2021.
Well, it's kind of a weird way to intro it, because we didn't even really know we would be here, due to COVID and really just, the executive order from the mayor from March of this year. We were looking forward to our second season at our Southwest location, 1800 Half Street. And I mean, we came out the gate guns blazing with, a partnership with the XFL, at Alley Field, DC Defenders. We were doing their tailgate.
DC United.
DC United's tailgates. So we were flying, and then, we kind of just had to hit the pause button. So without really knowing where we would land, we just started, kind of trying to identify locations and working with other developers. And, then MRP, James Murphy specifically, said, hey, look, we're building this interim park at our new project right across the other side of the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge. Maybe this might be a suitable solution. And, I immediately just went into go mode and did everything in our capacity to try to make the, economics work, and more specifically, just the partnership with the developer. And here we are now, 71 Potomac Avenue Southeast.
Outstanding. So for both of you guys, the thing that I think that most people aren't aware of necessarily when they look at, your careers, is that you guys elevate the level of importance and type of work that you do consistently, from, like working in events to birthing events to working with brands and then elevating the brands that you're working with to now you're working with a whole different style of project that's an all-encompassing thing. So what motivates you guys as far as your thoughts about how you motivate yourself to achieve at a different level every time?
I think that the things that we've done in the past, I think that where we are now is just really evolution. you know, like everything that you just named is kind of what Sandlot encompasses. It's all of those things kind of just combined into one. And I think that we continue just to motivate each other. A lot of people don't know that Ian and I, we've been friends for 30 years. So before nightlife and
I didn't know that.
yeah, so like before all of this stuff, you know what I'm saying, like got started, like we met in church and we started playing basketball with each other. So like playing for the same position. So it was just a constant, you know what I'm saying, like thing since we've been young. It's always, you know what I'm saying, like looking out for each other and always pushing each other to the next level. So
Yeah.
I think that's, you know, that's the foundation of our relationship. And that's kind of, you know what I'm saying, what pushes, I know for me, like that's what pushes me every day.
Right.
And-
So Ian, as far as for you?
Yeah, and like really, you know, for me, it's, you know, I came into this industry, you know, sideways. Like, you know, everybody, you know, was going right, and I was, you know, I went left. I'm the sneakerhead, right? I'm the guy
Right.
that back then, you know, people used to laugh at me, you know, because of, you know, my style or me standing in line hours and hours at a, you know, a day, or just overnight for some sneakers and, you know, collecting rare items, but then utilizing that platform, which was my hobby, and turning that into a business. And then that business, you know, paying off with different corporate partners and folks that saw the vision then. And, you know, especially now with sneakers, you kind of see how that industry has, you know, blossomed and is booming right now. But, you know, I've took that kind of access that I had back then and just converted it into, you know, creating these physical spaces that can live, you know, beyond my lifespan or beyond a trend that, you know, the sneaker culture once was. So I do look at it as trying to, you know, elevate from the previous, even if it does, you know, impact a specific neighborhood. You know, a lot of our projects, they're never really in the same neighborhood. They're always in a different neighborhood that needs this type of energy and engagement. And that's really our focus.
Right. So the value then to millennial culture and the culture that we all work within, and looking at that within DC, and kind of like now you've moved from being a person who's like a consumer to a provider. So what are things that you're thinking about when you think about things that especially Black millennials in DC moving out of COVID are going to need, and how do you plan on providing those things? Do you put any thought to that?
Yeah, I think it's a sense of comfort. You know, like, you know, familiarity is what we're used to. And, you know, due to COVID, we've been experiencing unfamiliar times. So what, you know, we try to do is to bring a sense of familiarity to the equation and, you know, a sense of hope. I mean, we all need that type of, you know, I guess guidance. And not just here at Sandlot, but, you know, in all of, you know, our other projects previous with Diet and some of the other, you know, stuff that I've done in the past as well. It's always had a sense of community. So we know that that's, you know, the one solution that is rock solid and doesn't really, you know, require much, you know, added or additives. You know, it's
Right.
true, genuine, authentic people, you know, specifically those that are from DC. You know, everyone's experiencing the gentrification conversation. So what we try to do is to, you know, kind of hone in on that and say, well, here's a solution. You know what I mean? Here's a potential, you know, experience that you can have that'll make you, you know, feel like home.
Right. So Scooty, you're my favorite party host. If I had a party that was happening, it'd be you and it'd be Walter from Adobo together hosting a party. So thoughts then to like welcoming people into space, and especially people who are like, you know, in DC moving forward, like thoughts about that, like, because you haven't hosted a party probably in almost a year. So thoughts about that and being able to like
According to you,
and
had a couple of porch parties, 2 and 3 since COVID started.
Yeah.
You know, I really don't put too much thought into to like the whole like hosting thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's a title that most people give me, but like for me, like it's just natural. Like I'm just a people person. You know, I love good energy. I believe heavily in balance. So if I wake up every day with a positive attitude and I can continue to like to bring that type of energy, you know what I'm saying, like into the world, like then my job is done. And really, like that's what it is. It's not even really like hosting, it's not greeting, it's not nothing. It's just, like I just want to give off just good energy. Mm-hmm. And that's what any and every project that I do, or even when, I'm not working, just me walking down the street every day. Like I don't think that, that you could ever find a time where I'm not like happy or excited about something, even if my life is going to shit, like I can still find, like the silver line. I can still find, that one thing that's going well. And I use that energy, like to continue to drive me every day. So, if you're a person that shows up to anywhere that I'm at, whether it's Sandlot or wherever, like that's what you should expect.
Right. So I also wanted to ask you guys about the nature of being a Black creative in DC. DC, as you know, is it's an economic hotbed, which makes it wonderful for business, but it makes it hard for living. So especially as a creative, somebody who wants to make money from the thing that they do creatively outside of working in a traditional work environment, and we all do that. So I wanted your thoughts about what it requires to do that, because I think a lot of people who are younger than we are look at us like, okay, I want to get to that point. So what does that require, do you feel?
Just being genuine to yourself. I mean, it is very taxing. It's extremely taxing to be a Black creative in Washington, D.C. proper, especially if you're a native. Just jumping back, this is a transient city. A lot of transplants, people that aren't from here, and they, come into our city and basically just take advantage of our resources or just things that are available and accessible to us natives. But, one of the things that I feel is of value, to, at least when I speak to a lot of, like kids and just youth in general, or just other young entrepreneurs, is to be, passionate about what you do. Don't do it for the money. Like none of the stuff that I've done was ever for the money. Even Sandlot, we didn't make no money on Sandlot. We balanced the books. The whole point was to employ people and to pay our bills and not owe nobody no money. We have other gigs, we have other jobs, and we have other things that we're great at, but we're not in it to be millionaires. We're millionaires just by providing these experiences for people to take, back home and share with their friends. To me, that's the gem that I'll try to, share with other, Black millennials.
Right. So as far as your thoughts about the future, it's the big question everybody's worried about, wondering about. Everybody has a perspective, of opinion, thoughts about A, the importance of voting, and B, the importance of being mentally strong either way and being able to forge forward.
Voting is the most important thing right now, just period. Like, I don't even think that you have to get any deeper than that. I'm just going to be a person to say, listen, I'm not into the back and forth of, like who you should be voting for and this, that, and the third. Like, just go out and vote. Like, let your ballot speak for itself. Like, not going to get, like I said, not going to get into the back and forth. Just make sure that you get out and vote. It's the most important thing right now, especially the world that we're living in right now, currently today. Like, if 2020 it was not enough of an example as to why we need to get out and let our voices be heard, like, I don't know what else. Yeah. Like, period.
Facts.
Right. And thoughts from you, Ian, about the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I
mentally being able to focus on whatever happens, life continues.
Yeah, so yeah. No, I mean, that's I remember, I want to say it was 2004 election. I was working for Department of Defense doing information assurance, and a Black owner of a consulting company, Charles Davis, had a concept called Ride the Vote. And he literally just hired a bunch of limos to go into lower, income areas and said, look, I'll take you from point A to the polls and back. And then I feel like every season there's a new initiative. Diddy had his Vote or Die, and then just other campaigns and things that kind of boiled over. So when I think about the importance of voting and what that means, and mind you, that was pre-social media, right? So There was no Twitter, there was no Instagram. And to me, that showed how important it was then. And now what I've seen with voting is it's very easy to be swayed into, just seeing something digitally, and now it's considered propaganda because you might have thought one way and now it shifts the other way. So when I think about the importance of voting and really understanding, like Scooty said, the whole intent of it, it's really just, when you get to that poll, it's just you don't have your phone. You can't look and research and try to, get some cheat codes, but your ballot does speak for itself. And just by, achieving that, whether it's a mail-in or voting early, that's the main thing. And like you said, after, on November 4th, we're all going to wake up and we're all going to feel away, but, life still goes on. And that's the emotional connection that we have to be prepared for, because, yes, it can go one way or it'll just go the other way. And you still got to, get up and be on your grind.
Right. So thanks for the conversation. I wanted to get your guys' social media handles and also how people can support what you guys are up to.
So I'm at Uncle UNKLE Scooty SCOOTY on everything. Twitter, Instagram, and I just got on. I got Facebook. I don't really. Yeah. I go on Facebook to check people's birthdays every day, and I just got on something else. Hold on, what's the
Clubhouse?
Yeah, I just got on Clubhouse. I got on Clubhouse yesterday.
Tight. I need to get on Clubhouse. That's what's up. So, what about you, Ian?
I'm Ian Ican. That's IANEYECAN. And that's also on everything. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Clubhouse. I'm on Clubhouse too, y'all.
There it is.
I don't really know how to work that shit, but I'm on here.
Yeah, I'm figuring it out too.
Cool. So what about the Sandlot as far as getting in touch with the Sandlot?
Yeah, Sandlot Southeast spelled out, at Sandlot Southeast spelled out. We're, online, sandlotsoutheast.com, and, Yelp, Google, Facebook. We're not on Twitter. We just use the hashtag. Again, just doing things differently. Not everything needs a handle. But if you have a hashtag, there's always an easy, that's an easily accessible way to see some content from our space. And I know you dropped a gem earlier in the interview, but Sandlot Northwest is on the way, so you'll be hearing about that shortly.
Yeah, no, I love what you guys are doing. Like, I've known you guys for a million years. And to see that we're all in a place where we could do this in the midst of a pandemic and still be successful is incredible. Yeah. So it's a privilege to be able to talk to you guys. And once we're able to get out and about, I will see you guys in the streets.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
We'll see you guys soon.
Much appreciated.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Have a good one. All right, well, that was Uncle Scooty and Ian Ican. Two guys I've known for a long time. They're doing amazing things in the nation's capital these days. So definitely check them out at Sandlot. And also check out Washington Former Bridge, webridgedc.com. I've got a story in there this month, and we got great content. So thanks a lot, and talk to you soon.
This concert is dedicated to all the Black and Indigenous brothers and sisters that have been fighting for over 500 years to against the powers of death and destruction that are now once again trying to take over our existence. This next song is called Regálame Ilusiones. Esta siguiente canción se llama Regálame Ilusiones. Next song is called Chimba Chica. It's a cueca rhythm from, this particular one is from Argentina.